Hey there, Live Like Your Nail Color Gals. In the spirit of spring renewal, we're back for another episode in a mini series called Renew for Resilience. We're talking about topics in your everyday life with the idea that if you and I consider this spring how we can renew these areas, we could boost our resilience to whatever may come our way because we'd be more prepared, strong, buoyant, durable, feisty, and quick to recover in this crazy, demanding world. We kicked off the series talking about decluttering our most used spaces. And it's not about being tidy. It's about letting go of stuff that no longer supports you, including the guilt. This week, we're talking about editing what you eat. I'm not talking about a fad diet or losing weight or deprivation. I'm talking about reviewing what you're putting in your mouth so that you set up your body to do all the spring and summer fun activities you truly want to do. But first, before we dive in, do you know your nail color persona and what it reveals about you? I have a quiz that'll tell you. It's super fun, easy, and spot on. Just go to livelikeyournailcolor.com and click on the button that says, What's my nail color persona? You'll see it in the top right-hand corner, plus a couple other places there. Answer a few quick questions, and in your results, discover your specific nail color persona, your built-in strengths, and how to tap into those strengths when chip happens. Again, go to livelikeyournailcolor.com. Now, let's keep this mini-series going.
Tired of so much chip happening? Discouraged by so much downer news? Weary from chronic crisis? Don't let the chips keep you down. Welcome to the Live Like Your Nail Color podcast, where the tips of your fingers and toes are ready to inspire you to not give up and to keep creating the business, career, and life you want. In each episode, we flip the chip and let our fun nail color with that crazy fun name cheer us on to remember our strengths, embrace the power of choice, see life as an adventure, and know resilience is only a touch-up or change-up away. Get ready for a good time and a good laugh with your host, Mary Foley.
Welcome back, Live Like Your Nail Color Gals. Have you ever tried a particular diet like Whole30, Keto, or one where you have to buy all the food from one company? And it worked. You felt better for a while. But when you stopped the intensity, so did the benefits. And you're in a funk again. Yeah, well, that's pretty much everyone listening right now. And today's gal pal, Kelly Lutman, offers a different approach, an approach to eating that's about something more important and longer lasting than losing weight. Kelly is an integrative nutrition health coach, founder of Pursue Wellness, and author of the book, Diet to Edit. Discover freedom in a new approach to food. Yes, freedom from food.
Mm-hmm.
Those two words really should go together, don't you think? I have personally learned a lot from Kelly and can tell you that her approach to eating is practical, empowering, and totally designed to give your body the fuel it needs to feel energized and do what you want to do, which to me, embedded in all of that is freedom. So Kelly, welcome to the Live Like Your Nail Color podcast.
Thank you so much. It's a delight to be here to talk with you again. And to share from what's my passion, just to share my passion about we can feel good in our bodies no matter our age.
Yeah.
And, my ballet teacher, and I still take ballet, her motto was dance with the body you have. So live in the body you have, working to support it to be as effective as it can be. That's the real key.
It is. And, you live it. I've known you now for several years and you live it. And that's when I was thinking about this new Renew for Resilience mini-series of a handful of topics of things that as women, we interact with, deal with every day, everyday practical things. And, what we put into our mouths is a big deal. And really we get into automation mode about it and we get into some groove and some of those things are good and some of them are not so good. And then sometimes we feel better and sometimes we don't. And sometimes we don't take a moment to go, wait a minute, is what I'm eating really supporting how I want to feel? And spring is a great time to kind of just take a review of that, make some tweaks. And I wanted to ask you about this because, there's everybody and their mother and their sister has got an opinion about what you should put in your mouth, nutrition. And I respect that. But when I'm like, but I want to talk about it and talk with someone who can give us a practical approach and not like a whole comprehensive plan, but just things to think about as we
Mhm.
in spring think about how we can renew and how we can review what we're doing in important areas of our lives. So, but before we do any more of that, all right, talk about that. This is the Live Like Your Nail Color podcast, right? So,
Of course.
and
Yes.
so I always ask my guests, you included, what is your nail color persona according to the quiz that I created, and did it nail you?
I am totally a solid sister. You probably aren't surprised.
I'm not. Like, duh. I probably could have guessed that
And
one.
yes, I would say it nailed me. It nailed me. I love looking at other people's nails and seeing what they do. My workout partner at the gym always has sparkly fancy nails, and I love that for her. But if that was on my hands, I would be totally distracted by
It wouldn't feel
what's that
authentic.
doing there.
It just wouldn't feel authentic, right? Yeah.
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 So
Well, that's cool. Is there a particular go-to fave color that you have, and the description of that, did that resonate with you?
my go-to fave when I just don't want to have to think too hard about
Yeah.
a new color is it's a pale peach, not quite total neutral, but a pale peach with a little bit of sparkle, just gentle sparkle. And the name of it is humidity, and it's spelled, humida dash TEA.
Oh, I
But
get it.
I live in Louisiana. Humidity is a part of life here.
Yeah,
So
right.
it just seems like it's an appropriate name.
Well, that's right. And you're in the South, and so is tea. Tea is a big
Yeah,
thing in the South,
that
particularly
too. Yes.
sweet tea, sweet iced tea. I don't know if that's
I drink more of the hot tea version than the sweet tea
got
version.
it. Got it. Okay. But still, you're still a tea drinker more than you are a
Yes.
coffee drinker, if I remember right.
Yes,
Oh, and
definitely.
so that's what's so funny is that your fave color is a pale peach with a little sparkle, which
Mhm.
one could also call shimmer, right? So shimmer's like that
Yes.
got a little slight glow going on. And so it is, Solid Sister's about authenticity, grounded, and a solid color. So it's funny to
Mhm.
me, you're a solid sister with a little shimmer.
Just a little. Not the major glitter stuff,
I,
but just a little something that catches the light.
I got it. And part of when someone likes
Careful.
I know. Whoopsie. When someone likes glitter or shimmer, but don't put those two in the same
No.
sentence to make a new word. When a gal though likes that in her nail color, part of that is she likes for other people to shine.
Hmm.
So it's not always about
Okay. Yeah.
focus on ourselves. So, which is how I experience you, and why the work that you do to help others with what they eat. And I
Mhm.
know it extends to some other lifestyle aspects, but we're going to really focus on what we put in our mouths.
That's where it starts.
Yeah, and that's exactly where a lot of this starts. In fact, I want to ask you about this phrase that we often hear, which is "you are what you eat." Right. So with that, I'm pretty much a part protein shake and part brownie. Just saying. All right. But really, how much does what we eat really impact our energy and our vitality?
It's got a significant impact. It's the fuel that gets you going. When you have a sports car, you're not going to put regular octane gas in that sports car and expect it to work right. And we may not feel like we look like a sports car, but our bodies are so intricate and so amazingly well designed. They need that high quality fuel. But I take it even further than you are what you eat. You actually are what you eat, digest, and absorb. Because if you just eat stuff, but your body doesn't digest it for the sake of absorbing the nutrients from it, you've just got a lot of elimination and not much benefit.
That's right. Also called the poop emoji.
Yeah.
So does that mean that are you just focusing on eat, digest, and absorb to make that point? Or is it you're saying, well, listen, not necessarily all foods get digested and
Yeah.
absorbed like you
Yeah.
think they might?
That's a big part of my work with clients is identifying what are the hindrances. First of all, we look at what are you putting in? Is it the quality? But then once you put it in, is it going in effectively And we'll talk about that a little bit later. And is your body able to absorb, to digest it and absorb it? There's a lot involved in the process of digestion. And that can involve, do you still have a gallbladder? If you don't, your body is hindered in its digestion of fats. Do you have sufficient stomach acid? Because a lot of people are shocked to learn that acid reflux is not too much stomach acid. It is actually too little.
Mm.
And the cause of the result of having too little stomach acid is when the pH actually goes down, the acidity goes up and the acidity goes down, then the esophageal sphincter, the door at the bottom of the esophagus into the stomach, gets floppy instead of secure.
Mm.
And it just takes bending over or squeezing or laying down, and things can come up into the esophagus where it's not protected from that acid level.
So you get that
And
burn
it hurts.
feeling.
It's
Yeah.
not comfortable at all. But unfortunately, a lot of medical practice is to give medications that further suppress that stomach acid and limits your ability to digest proteins, which are key to building tissue in your body. So it's really important to look at, are you able to fully digest it for the sake of absorption? And then maybe there's issues with cellular structure that is limiting the ability to absorb. So it kind of goes in stages along the way.
Wow. Yeah, it's a lot more to it than we think about. Well, you're eating low carb or high fat or low fat or,
Oh, yeah.
enough vegetables. I mean, what you're saying goes much deeper. And I know you work with people that like have, perhaps a prolonged illness. They've tried
Mhm.
a lot of other things, gone to doctors and they've gotten some relief, but it hasn't been sustainable or they've not gotten enough relief at all. Or they just want to get a different solution because a lot of times there's a lot of pharmaceuticals involved in there, whether it's the cost or the actual, I don't know, trying to keep track of when to take what when,
Oh, yeah. Oh,
that.
yeah.
I mean, all of that
And
could be a challenge.
pharmaceuticals generally shut down physiology, which gives you relief from the symptom, but it doesn't fix the root cause.
Yeah.
And so sometimes I find it's the pharmaceuticals that the client is on that are actually hindering their digestion, and we have to look for a different approach. It's an individualized, unique to each person process.
I'm curious, have you experienced people that you've worked with bouncing back because they tweaked their diet? Maybe they
Mhm.
didn't have a larger issue like we've just discussed, but they just tweaked it and boom, they're already starting to feel the benefits.
Oh, yeah. Oh, well, that's what started me on this path to begin with, with my own son. In the process of homeschooling, I was listening to a radio program back before podcasts,
It's
where
okay.
it was a panel discussion of parents with children with ADD. And the more I listened, the more I thought, they're describing one of my sons. They're
Mm.
describing the challenges we were having. We were in the homeschool mode, so he wasn't in the middle of a classroom disrupting, but he couldn't sit at the table and really work on his math without fidgeting and falling around and dropping his pencil a bunch of times. And it was distracting. It was a challenge for him and for me.
Mhm.
And so, this was even before the internet. So I went to the library to research and I found a book by Dr. Benjamin Feingold, Why Your Child is Hyperactive. And Dr. Feingold was a pediatric allergist whose theory, after working with hundreds of children, was that a lot of hyperactivity, or what we would call ADHD, was actually an allergic reaction to artificial colors and flavors in food. And his protocol was 2 weeks of totally removing that from your diet. So I did it for the whole family because I wasn't going to short order cook for different ones. And in that 2-week time, my son was a different kid. I mean,
In just 2
drastic.
weeks?
In 2 weeks, drastic difference in his attention and his focus. And of course, he was 8 years old. And after that, we continued the protocol as a family. But he would go down the street to play with a friend, and he wasn't policing himself like I was. And so he might eat a snack, but I could tell when he walked in the door if he had had a snack that was off protocol. I could tell just from a immediate change
Oh,
in
wow.
his behavior. It's like, oh my goodness, crazy. And another time I had a client who was a businesswoman, a business trainer, actually. And she came to me saying, I got joint pain. I have this rosacea. She was often on camera or whatever, but she had very red cheeks. And she said, flagging energy. She loved to play tennis, but she said, sometimes I can't make it through a whole match.
Hmm.
And so, of course, we started with the food she was eating. And I actually recommended, based on some of the signs I was seeing, that she remove gluten from what she was eating. And I provided guidance in how to do that, because most people are like, what?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah.
I
I
can't
was
eat
afraid.
flour-based foods. What?
Yeah.
But I provided guidance with her, and she was diligent about it, even giving up her beer for the sake of the experiment, because beer often has gluten in it. But by the next time we met, and usually I meet my clients every couple weeks, it was already making a difference for her. Her cheeks were not nearly so red as they had been. I could see that visually on the video. Her digestion was more comfortable. She was having less pain. And interestingly, she was making fewer trips to the bathroom each day.
Huh.
This was her observation, not my question, but something that made a difference for her. And she learned very quickly that what she ate early in the day made a huge difference in how she did through her tennis matches when she played. If
Mm-hmm.
she ate a bowl of cereal and a cup of mandarin oranges or some sort of fruit, she wouldn't have the strength to go through as if she had protein and protein and fat with a little bit of carbohydrates. She's like, I totally lagged the other day. We were doing a breakfast experiment where I had her do something different for breakfast each day,
Yeah.
and then observing her stamina. And
Right.
she said, oh my goodness, night and day difference
Wow.
with what she ate before, to start her day. That kind of thing can make a huge difference in anybody's life.
Yeah. Wow. And I'm sure she was thrilled, because it's
Oh yeah.
like me with cycling. I've had to beg off some because of my stamina, which has been kind of
Mhm.
a bummer, because I'm dealing with some things as well. But to give up or to have to dial back something you love, and then to have a solution, and a huge part of that solution be food, what you eat when. Oh my gosh, you're like easy fix, so to speak. And
Yeah.
obviously every
Yeah.
every person's body is different, I want to get some of your tips about that we all can kind of at least look at and review.
Mhm.
But before we do that, it's easy to hear the word diet and go kind of like, ugh, I always think of the first three letters of the word diet has DIE, die in it. I
Yep.
think that's a little indicator right there. But you say diets don't work. Why do you say that? And I'm talking about diets like fad diets or these very,
Whatever diet. Yeah.
one of
The
these
diet
very
program.
structured diets. And apparently, according to quick research I did, the Mediterranean diet, which seems like very broad, but anyway, is what the most popular for 2023. But you say diets don't work. So what do you mean by that, and why?
Well, in the traditional sense of diet, I'm going to limit what I eat. I'm going to not eat these things, whatever. First of all, there is that ugh factor. Ugh, it's the beginning of the new year. I've got to go on another diet. Oh,
Right.
none of us looks forward to it. I don't have any friends come up to me saying, I started a new diet. Woohoo.
No, they all go, I'm going to lose 20 pounds. I'm like, how are you going to do that? Oh, we'll have to give up
A
this,
diet.
give up this. And right, exactly. Then it's like, well,
But the biggest factor in diets not working is it is usually a restrictive plan that you follow for a week, a month, maybe longer, something like that. But what happens when you come to the end of that designated period? You celebrate, and you probably go back to eating some of the foods you've missed in the time frame that you've been dieting, and it brings you right back into, the foods you were eating before the diet are usually contributing to the problem that caused the diet.
mhm. Yeah.
So it's like a perpetual roller coaster or ending cycle that just comes round and round, and you don't feel like you get anywhere with it.
Well, and most of the gals listening to the Live Like Your Nail Color podcast are, they've been on this planet for a few decades. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
The possibility, when I was younger, I was really focused on much more on my weight, the number, and how I looked and how I felt in my clothes. Right. As I've gotten older, and so well with that, and my metabolism was different too. So when I wanted to lose, let's say 5 pounds, I could do this restrictive eating and deprive myself of certain foods for a short period of time, and I would lose it. And then I might gain it back, but not as quickly, right? So it just was like not as a big of a deal. But then things change.
Yeah.
Right. And so and energy and metabolism and what the body needs change too. So I found then in my mid 40s, it just didn't work anymore. What I did before, and I was kind of confounded, right? And I thought I ate pretty healthy. So I didn't feel like I was eating like beer and pizza and pasta every other night. But it was just like, well, when I kind of modified and cut back, well, I modified and I cut back. It didn't mean any effect on the weight. But then I started caring less about the weight and more about how I felt.
Yeah.
I mean, so
exactly.
So I love the fact that you say there's a difference between dieting and editing, from the name of your book, from diet to edit. And that sounds a whole lot more doable. But what do you mean by dieting versus editing?
Well, I start with a very visual demonstration. If you picture from the days when your kids had magnetic letters on the refrigerator, and you spelled diet in those magnetic letters, but then when you pull that E out of diet and you move it to the front, it spells the word edit. And the whole idea, is just the whole idea is you are not working with restrictions. You're not trying the eat less, exercise more approach, which really doesn't work, especially in our age group, because there's hormones at play. But that you are learning to edit your approach. You're just making adjustments in how you do the eating thing, what you're eating. And in my book, I actually provide 12 different approaches in different aspects. But it's a less restrictive, less oppressing approach, I guess.
Yeah, it sounds, right.
The intent is that be more sustainable.
Yeah. So let's talk about some of these tips. Let's pick like 5 of the tips that you really, because 12, I don't know if we have enough time today to do all of that, but 5 good ones too. It's like our brain can process it as well while you're listening. Some people are driving, some people are, actually doing something else. I often say, when it comes to podcasts, for most of the time, you can listen to a podcast while you're doing something that doesn't take full brain power, right?
Right.
And I love to do that to make whatever I'm doing, which usually doesn't take as much brain power, which usually is not as interesting, go by faster as well. So let's say, what are 5 tips for editing our eating to renew our resilience?
Well, I'll name all 5 and then we'll go back into them a little bit deeper. Cool. So these are specifically from my book. Edit the pace.
Okay.
Edit the rhythm. Edit your balance. Edit your colors. And edit your liquids. That's cool. A key one.
Okay. You got me going here because I'm thinking like add vegetables.
Yeah. Well,
but this is a very different approach, which is what I love about you.
And if whoever is listening just picks one and starts incorporating it, it will make a difference. Yeah. It will make a difference.
Okay, cool.
So editing your pace, just the pace at which you eat. How many of us don't really stop and sit down and eat? We're grabbing some food on the way out the door to the office as you drive to work, or you swing in for coffee and a pastry as you drive to your first appointment, which isn't the fast way because usually that coffee line is really long outside the building. Or even you may be sitting down at a table to eat your meal, but are you approaching and focusing on the food you're eating? Are you just putting bite after bite in your mouth and not even noticing whether you really chew it or not? When chewing is vital for digestion. In fact, it's the only aspect of digestion we get to control. Once you've swallowed, it's all up to what your body can do with it. But you can control the chewing. And chewing is an aspect of mechanical digestion in the chewing with your teeth, and also chemical because your saliva has different enzymes that begin to be mixed with the food. And my dad was military. We ate meals fast when I was young. I have to work at refocusing and enjoying the meal and paying attention to the food. The cephalic phase of digestion starts in your head with observing and smelling and anticipating the food. And that brings about the saliva. Walk into a movie theater. What do you smell first?
Popcorn.
Popcorn.
Yeah, right. Actually, butter.
They work with the cephalic phase. But once you get the food in your mouth, you want to chew it well. It shouldn't be just slightly smaller lumps when you swallow. It really should be mush when you swallow. So depending on what you're eating, if it's a piece of meat, you need to chew it well because that's beginning the breakdown. If you don't chew well, I can almost imagine somebody standing in your stomach while this meteor shower comes down. You're like, whoa, wait a minute, what's going on? But you need to start that chewing by editing your pace and actually stopping. Take a deep breath. Say the blessing. That's a great way to slide yourself into parasympathetic mode so that your body is ready to digest your food. Because when you're doing it on the run, your body is not geared for digestion and you're really not digesting the food well.
It makes me think about how sometimes I catch myself not breathing deeply either.
Yeah. Yeah.
And this thing of I have to tell myself, I have to catch it first and realize, like, slow down there, take a deep breath. And then I realize, God, I'm not good at taking deep breaths because it's really awkward, And
if you do it too much, you might get lightheaded.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. But and I remember first time I ever went to Europe, I went to France, and they have like 2-hour meals for dinner.
Yeah.
I thought that was so long. Like, there's so many other things you could do. But I found myself, because I was also with a group, enjoying this long process, and it was, of course, other people were making the food, made it, that made part of it. And you could sit around and talk and keep going and such. But it's so stuck in my head. And I thought, gosh, just slowing down more to eat. Sometimes I have to consciously put down my fork and knife and like take my fingers away, take my hands away in order to help remind me to just slow down. Because I usually look forward to dinner. Just saying. I'm usually hungry.
We enjoy the experience.
Yeah, right. Bill's making food. I mean, it's just,
enjoy it longer.
Yes, exactly. Okay.
And
So
there's strategies. So like you say, you put your food fork down. Sometimes I give my clients chopsticks and teach them how to use it. That'll slow some people down.
Chopsticks. Oh, I'm so glad you didn't recommend that to me. But you're also saying that by editing the pace, slowing it down, enjoying it more, chewing more specifically helps our body digest it better and then hopefully absorb it better. So it kind of speaks to that whole eat, digest, absorb.
Exactly.
Step process. Okay. Yeah. All right. Great.
So then the next one is edit your rhythm. And really, I'm talking about the pattern of your eating. I know there are people that say, I just don't feel like eating breakfast. My body's not ready for it at that point. And that's okay. But when you do break your fast, whether it's in the morning or later in the, late morning or lunchtime or whatever, be sure that you supply your body protein first. Our cultural norm for breakfast is cereals and pancakes and all kinds of processed carbs, which set our bodies up for blood sugar issues down the road. But when you start with protein, you are sustained much longer. Like my client that played tennis, when she had a protein-based breakfast, she was sustained with her energy through the morning, through the whole 3 3-set match, whatever that is. I'm not a tennis player. And so I surprise my clients also by just saying, okay, if you are intermittent fasting, that's fine too. Whatever your window of eating is in the day, then look at how are you prioritizing good balance of nutrients in your body. You don't want to give one of those more restricted eating times to junk food because it's going to spike your blood sugar and then crash you, and you'll be hungry quicker. A lot of times when we feel like, the mid-afternoon snack or maybe the mid-morning snack, we don't stop to think, why am I hungry again? Am I bored? Maybe you're not really hungry. You're just bored. You need something to do with your hands or your mouth. Or am I really hungry, which means what I ate at the last mealtime was not sufficient for me. It's just that observation and setting up the rhythm of your eating. But then we also talk about the balance of your eating. So editing your balance, I actually demonstrate it with a plate. And I've colored the plate in to show what should be the portions on your plate. You go to a steakhouse and meat covers the plate.
Right.
And I think that's where they originated with the concept of side dishes, because the meat was so big, there was no room for anything else beside it.
Yeah.
And so they created these side dishes. But really, the meat should cover a quarter of your plate. About the size of the palm of your hand should be a reasonable portion of meat, of protein for you. And then you want half of your plate to be full of produce, whether it's vegetables, salad, side dish, variety of things, maybe some fruit, and complex carbs on a quarter of the plate also. Now, complex carbs specifically are more whole grains, so brown rice, quinoa, grains with the shell still included because it's slower to process in your body and turn into blood sugar. And oddly enough, I also include, well, people think it's odd, but I don't, that I include fat as having a place on that plate.
Okay.
Fat, people, how many decades have we had this fat-free craze? Oh, I've got to eat fat-free but eating fat, ladies, listen to this. If you hear nothing else, eating fat doesn't make you fat.
And why? Because we have been taught the opposite, right?
Right.
It goes in as fat, so why wouldn't it just stick on as fat?
Well, it depends on the source of the fat, actually. Your average vegetable oils are not going to benefit you. But when you're eating fat in the form of avocado, coconut oil, olive oil, grass-fed beef, or wild-caught fish sources that have fat on them, those are going to be healthy fats. And your body needs that fat for cellular structure, for making hormones, and helping your body use fat-soluble vitamins, which are A, D, E, and K, and energy production, because your body can make energy from fat sources, but it's got to be the right kind of fat. That's the key.
I have to say that was a game changer for me. I consume some amount of coconut oil every day, I'm pretty sure. And it's and I use it all in baking as well. And olive oil, and I love avocados, and it's freed me up. Talk about freedom, going back to the freedom. I'll make like avocado toast, and I have half of an avocado, and I don't blink an eye. I don't feel guilty about it. And it not only tastes good, but knowing that it's a good fat, I think it's omega-3s is what you're talking about in the good fat, is that it sustains me. So between that and the protein, I'm not hungry as quickly.
Right. So then if we talk more about the produce side of the plate, edit your colors. And one of the things that I often say is all of us have probably eaten one fast food meal at some point in our lives. But if you picture that time that you did and you unwrapped all the food that you ordered, what color was the food?
It's usually cream, brown. I mean, there's not very colorful, basically.
Not much color unless you add the mustard or the ketchup.
Right.
There's usually more coloring in the packaging than there is in the food itself in a fast food meal. And Colors represent nutrients. So I encourage my clients to eat the colors of the rainbow. And that means green and red, yellow and orange, blue and purple, and white. White is also a color of nutrient in our foods because these provide the nutrients that support the functions in our body, provided those foods are naturally those colors and not artificially those colors, not artificially processed. Because boy, you can go down the aisles of the grocery store and you'll see a whole lot of colors on the shelves, but it's not in the food. It's not necessarily colors in the food. The best place you'll find for color is in the produce section. That's going to give you a natural color, and
So
you can find a wide variety.
it's interesting you said that about the colors of the packaging in fast food are really colorful. And I've just brought that up again, going down some aisles and all the color. So there must be something about color. Is it that our eyes and our brains are naturally wired to be attracted to a variety of colors for us to
Yes,
consume?
exactly, exactly. And unfortunately, these days, we see those colors in all sorts of forms. Kids love Skittles. They're very, very colorful. M&Ms, they're very, very colorful. There's a reason. Usually, I have grandkids and they eat M&Ms. Brown is not their favorite M&M. In fact, they want the colors. They want the others. When I can put together a snack or something for my grandkids that's colorful, they are far more likely to eat it even if they've never had it before, than if it's not colorful. They'll question, I'm not sure if I'll like that, but colors draw us, colors attract us. And in our food, that's a benefit because it attracts us to the nutrients our body's wanting.
Yeah. Wow. I love that. Because I think to myself, I love when I go to a farmer's market, for example, for produce in
Hmm.
particular, and you see a layout of all these different, peppers and cucumbers and greens and some are, eggplant and all these different colors. It makes me want to buy some of everything.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
pretty. I mean, it's pretty, it's attractive. And then, I'm thinking about the dish I'm going to make, with them. So
Hmm.
now now I understand why it plays in. It's more than just, well, I've had that food and I know it tastes good. It's like I'm eating it with my eyes, I guess, already.
Hmm.
Yeah.
That's true. That's true. It's the attraction factor. Um, and then lastly, editing your liquids. This is probably the most important for our energy levels is editing. I always ask my clients, what do you drink specifically? And many will report, oh, I have 5 or 6 glasses of liquid all day, each day. But I want to know, is it Southern sweet tea? Is it canned drinks? Is it coffee with creamer and other fixins? That's a Southern term, fixins.
Fixins, yeah.
Um, the problem is that sweetened beverages are actually dehydrating to our body. And in the process of every day, talking, breathing, sweating if you're walking or exerting yourself, and eliminating, we lose about 56 ounces of liquid from our body each day.
Hmm.
And that has to be replenished because our body is 65 to 70% water, and your organs do not function well without a sufficient level of hydration. So a lot of people think, oh, I'm getting hydrated, I'm not thirsty. But there are so many other symptoms of dehydration. One of them is headaches,
Hmm.
oddly enough. A lot of times I will tell, and we respond to a headache with a glass of water and an aspirin, right?
Right.
But skip the aspirin, drink the glass of water and give it 10 or 15 minutes and see if that headache doesn't dissipate.
Hmm.
Because if it's dehydration, it likely will.
Yeah.
Um, other symptoms could be, dry skin, dry mouth, um, joint issues. There's so many different things that can be dehydration as the foundation. And each cup of coffee you drink dehydrates. You need to counter that with a glass of water. So I encourage my clients, I think most of us have heard you should drink half your body weight in ounces of water. So if you're 160 pounds, that's 80 ounces of water. That's a good bit of water. And your body recognizes water and herbal tea, not black tea. That's dehydrating. but herbal tea as hydrating sources. So, some are like, I can't drink any of the stuff I like. Well, swap it out. Swap one of the things you normally drink for a glass of a tall glass, not a little glass, a tall glass, and drink that and see how you feel and get comfortable with that for a couple of days and then swap another one out. I'm not saying don't drink your coffee. I would like to see you minimize the canned drinks because you do absorb aluminum from those cans and that can work against your body.
Ooh.
But see how many ways you can just slowly swap out and, as I call it, crowd out the stuff that's working against you and put in the new stuff that's going to help you.
Crowd out. I love that idea. And that's just a real practical approach.
Yeah. Yeah.
I was just thinking about the 5 tips that you brought up today about editing or eating. And I had never done a detox until you started to lead a 5-day detox experience. And you guided us step by step. And I was like, 5 days? I could do 5 days. Okay. We're like 10 or 20 or longer, or even 30 days. And I've now done it twice with you for this 5-day detox. And you provide even recipes, and I still use some of those today. It seems to me, as you were going through these 5 tips and these strategies and the overall, you've incorporated all those into this 5-day detox, and you actually give some education and some more. So would you share about your 5-day detox approach? Because what I love about it is it's possible to take these tips, these strategies of editing or eating, and we could, like you said, pick one, go with it. But the other alternative is we go, this all makes sense. Can someone please help me implement this in a simple way? Because I got enough I'm trying to think about. Implementing it would be enough as well of my energy. So would you share, if you would, about your 5-day detox approach?
Well, it's very similar to editing. I incorporate the colors for you in the recipes that I recommend. You still have to put a balance on your plate. You can, because there are proteins and meats and things included. I'm still looking for you to balance the portions that you're putting on your plate. But most of the recipes are much heavier in the vegetable side than in the meat side. You would still need to pay attention to chewing, because I can't do that for you, dear.
Well, okay then, right. I got to chew more, but I can edit, but again, everyone's doing it though as a group. I mean, independently all around, they're checking in with the Facebook group, and I know you have some Zoom stuff. So it's just the fact of, I'm not alone. As
That's it. And I'm there to support and answer your questions if you get stuck with something or you're not certain about things. But basically this 5-day, and I do it seasonally, the detox is opportunity to explore your body's response to removing certain foods, which tend to hinder our normal ability. Our body is detoxing every day, constantly trying to clear out things that come in that aren't needed. And so sometimes the standard ways we tend to eat, I tell my clients, if you eat based on what's on the commercials on TV, you're not nourishing your body.
Yeah.
But I bring in certain foods that are boosting things, but we remove gluten and dairy and sugar and caffeine.
I had a headache when I first started.
In a way, I'm helping you edit your liquids. I'm helping you edit your colors. I'm helping you take certain things in, but I give you the replacements. I give you the recipes, the suggested menu, the shopping list, a detox guide, and then personal support. And even though I give you over 30 recipes in the pack, you can pick and choose. If there's some particular fruit or vegetable that, meat that you don't like, you can omit that recipe and look for a different one. Maybe cook one other recipe twice instead. There's a lot of flexibility in it, but it still gives you a structure. And people have said, wow, I didn't know I could feel this good after just changing things for 5 days. That's awesome. And then I guide you on how to, don't just do that diet thing of you hit the end of 5 days, go back to what you did before. let's bring other foods back in slowly so that we can observe and see whether maybe gluten isn't your body's friend. Maybe dairy isn't your body's friend. Maybe sugar really has a significant effect on your body, and you might find that you want to just eliminate things more consistently and carry on. But you've got an idea of how to substitute for what you're eliminating, how to make meals that you can still enjoy. And I often have families that will do the program. Maybe a wife wants to do it and she'll convince her husband that he could try it. My husband does it with me when I do it each quarter. And we enjoy fixing the recipes and preparing and enjoying it together. Makes a difference.
Yeah, by default, Bill had to go through it with me because I was doing all the cooking. But I don't know if he did the pacing so much and the liquid. That was a tough one to get to convince him to do. But sometimes you got to take something versus nothing. But I loved the idea of the detox because, and like you just said, it was a structure. It was a structure that you could follow, and I found it empowering. And it just kind of demystified the whole like detox. It wasn't like this detox and deprive yourself and like a total juice cleanse and that's all you have the juice. I mean, it just felt much more manageable. So, all right. So you do it seasonally. We're in spring. Are you going to do one for spring? Because this is for renewal.
Yes. I will be doing the spring detox toward the end of April.
Cool. Okay.
And then of course there'll be a summer one this summer and fall, etc. But the spring one will be toward the end of April. So if there's any that are curious about it, I would be delighted to have you join us and explore some new things. You're still eating. That's the good thing. It's not like you're doing a detox where you just take pills or drink juice or such, but it's just shifting what you're eating.
Cool. Do you have a particular link for that you can give me and I can put in the show?
Yes. Yeah. It's
cool.
PursueWellness4U.com/5-day-detox.
Oh, well, that's easy enough. Okay, cool. I will definitely put that in the show notes there so people can check that out. All right, we're about to wrap up. We got to talk nail color again. Of course. I always do this. So if you could create a name of a nail color to inspire us to eat better, and edit what we eat, what would that name be?
Oh, goodness. Inspire us to eat. Well, it might have to be a rainbow, eat the colors of the rainbow. I wouldn't wear it on my nails. So maybe, just a new color, one color at a time. That's the thing. Do it in stages, do it in layers, one step at a time. Maybe we'd call it that. Offering it in layers. And then let's put a shimmer top coat on that said you did it.
Oh, that's cute. All right. So a shimmer, a top coat. Well, of course, a top coat will always be nice and when it's a clear top coat. But this is a shimmer top coat. So it's got a little bit of ever so slightly very fine glitter in it.
A little bit of celebration.
A little bit celebration. Yeah. All right. So one step at a time.
One bite at a time, one edit at a time. Each stage, the body, it can be tremendously resilient when you provide it the building blocks it needs and you remove the things that are working against it.
Sounds good. Well, we do that in so many other areas of our lives. Like what do we need in our project or something we want to accomplish? What do we need to get out of the way that's preventing us from getting it done or getting it better or doing it faster? Doing it with the eating. So I love it. Kelly, for those who would like to get in touch with you, who want to find out more about what you're doing, I know you have some also great resources that are on your website. What's the best way for them to do that?
If they start at my website, which is PursueWellness4U, all spelled in words.com, I have an extensive blog list that they can learn some things that way. They can also schedule a strategy call with me. And, maybe explore what are they dealing with? What are their challenges? What's not been working for them and how could I help in that way? And I would love for them to consider if they want to be a part of the detox. Probably for the detox, I won't open registration until early April. So for that, if you want to be on a waiting list and be reminded about it, email me at kelly@pursuewellnessforyou.com.
Okay.
And
do you have a specific start date right now that you're doing? You said end of April, but do you have one?
The last Monday in April. I don't remember what that date is right now.
I'll look it up real quick. Okay, the last Monday in April is, what's nice too, it's is that there's still time to get in on it and you can kind of plan for that.
Right.
Yeah, so the last Monday is Monday the 24th.
Okay.
All right, so here we go.
We start then. And I often tell people, if you've got some big thing going on that Monday and you really don't want to start a detox that day, it's okay. You can shift it a couple days and start midweek. I just start 5 days, Monday through Friday.
No, it's
but you can still modify it and adjust it according to you. You will have the materials. You'll have the daily support emails. You can reach me and I can still support you in the process. So you don't have to be locked into that specific time frame, but you do want to do it close to that time frame just for the sake of the spring produce that's available and called for in the detox.
Cool. Thank you so much. We'll be in touch again soon.
It's great to talk with you.
And now for the after party I call Flip the Chip, where I take a few moments to highlight something my gal pal shared that can help us all flip a challenge or difficulty that's holding us back into something more positive that helps us move forward. What I want to highlight today are Kelly's 5 tips to editing your diet. Of course, these are overall tips, and your body may vary. But consider, what's one tip you could start doing today that will help your body be more resilient and healthy? So, tip number 1, edit your pace. That means chew, chew, chew. Slow down your chomping. Make it mushy and savor the flavor. Tip number 2, edit your rhythm. What's your pattern of eating? Are you eating because you're truly hungry, or are you just bored? Kelly suggested for sustained energy, eat protein first thing in the morning and make sure to eat good fats like avocado oil, coconut oil, the fats that come from grass-fed beef or wild-caught fish. Yeah, isn't it amazing? We can eat fat and not necessarily get fat. I love that. Tip number 3, edit your balance. So think about a typical circular plate. And she suggests that you have half of that plate be produce, a quarter of it be protein, and another quarter complex carbs. She thought that's a really good balance. Tip number 4, edit your colors. Nature's colors on your plate represent a variety of nutrients, and we need a lot of different kinds of nutrients. So ask yourself if you're about to eat a lot of colors right there on your plate. And if not, switch things up so your plate is as colorful as you are. And tip number 5, edit your liquids. Kelly said that each day we lose about 56 ounces of water because that's what our body needs to operate. If we don't replenish that daily, we tend to get headaches, dry skin, dry mouth, and joint issues. So how much water is enough for you? Well, first ask, how much do you weigh? Take that number, cut it in half, and now you have the number of ounces of water or herb tea that your body needs every day. You can make the switch to more water by replacing, or what Kelly called crowding out, other liquids that aren't water or herb tea. You just do it one liquid at a time. Before you know it, you're mainly drinking water or herb tea, and your body's loving it. And as always, you can use your nail color to cheer you on. Simply put on a new nail color, fingers or toes, and give it the name One Bite at a Time, so that every time you look at your fingers or toes, you're reminded that you can make good choices to keep creating the career, business, and life you want. One bite, one step, one nail color at a time. Look forward to being with you next time on the Live Like Your Nail Color podcast.
Thanks for listening to the Live Like Your Nail Color podcast. Ready to live and laugh more? Know a friend who could use some of that too? Then subscribe at liveLikeYourNailColor.com or your favorite podcast app and share this episode right now with the person who popped into your mind. Together, let's flip the chip to be stronger, smarter, and happier.